Hey everybody, it's Dan Boul. Happy Halloween 2012. Today is October 31st, All Hallows Eve. And I'm sitting in my office in Los Angeles. I'm going to play you our little bitty Ventura today. And got it down on its coolest setting right now, not very loud. But before we get started, I want to give a big shout out to all of our friends on the East Coast who are hopefully not underwater and hopefully have power right now. As the storm was hitting the East Coast, I was texting and talking to a lot of friends, and it seems like most people are going to be okay. However, there's a lot of damage up there. There's a lot of businesses shut down. There's a lot of people that can't even go to work to make money, let alone some of them don't have a place to go to work now. So I just want to say from everybody at 65 amps, our most heartfelt best wishes to all of you guys. And some of you probably can't watch this right now because of what's going on the East Coast. But it's very important for you to know that everybody here on the West Coast is thinking about you. And we do care about you. And we hope everything turns out for the best. So it's one of those moments as we're going through arguably the most toxic election in the history of the country, that this is a good time to remember that we're all in this together, regardless of which asshole you like who's running for president. And I say asshole with all sincerity and due love and respect. I don't mean asshole in the derogatory sense of the word. I mean literally the hole in your butt where poop comes out. But there, I've taken a sweet sentiment and turned it into something vulgar. I apologize. For those of you not in the U.S., it might be hard for you to understand how just disgusting this election is. It's changed most people's view of politics, and it's gross. As if U.S. politics could have gotten worse. Hey, we didn't think so, but it did. So anyway, everybody on the East Coast, let us know what we can do for you. We're all thinking about you, praying for you, hoping for the best. And we want to see you back up on your feet right away. So we get the benefit of good weather here in the West Coast, but we got to deal with earthquakes. We don't have to deal with hurricanes and tornadoes and things like that. So we all have our little burden, I guess. So anyway, people are making some funny comments here. John Gaynor from Sozo Capacitor says, bring us back to the glory days of the guitar, the summer of 1965. That's when I was born. I was born August 1965. While my mom went into the hospital, the Beatles were playing at Shea Stadium. And when she finally gave birth, they were playing in Houston the day I was born. A couple days later. Mom had a long labor. But the radio was WGN out of Chicago, and they were simulcasting the Shea Stadium concert. John Gaynor was born July 69, which for those of you that don't know John runs my favorite capacitor company called Sozo Capacitors, and they're based out of Florida. And John is also a Marshall freak who apparently, I just found out, was born the month that the best super leads were made. As far as I understand, July 69 are the Holy Grail super leads. So maybe it's not a coincidence there, John. Maybe that's why you're the Marshall guy that you are. So anyway, today I'm playing our little Ventura. This is our little guy on our red line. Our red line amps are actually, for the most part, exactly the same as our blue line. The only differences are the transformers in here are machine wound instead of hand wound. They're still made here in the U.S. They're made here in Chicago, whereas our blue line are hand wound here in Los Angeles. The cabinets are a little simpler, as you can see. You know, the vents that we put on our blue line cabinet actually adds about $120, $150 to the ultimate cost of the amp. A lot of people said, I don't care about that aesthetic. I would rather just be able to afford the amp. So we did that. And the company that's making our machine wound transformers does a great job. Sorry, I'm trying not to burp. And there goes a redneck on a motorcycle. Same internal components, exactly, except for the transformers. No difference whatsoever. All Sozo capacitors for our coupling caps, which I'm going to take a moment here to wave Sozo's flag, because we have used Sozos from the beginning. I think, John, we started buying caps from you in 2003, if I'm not mistaken. And I try every other cap that comes out, John. I got to tell you, every year we audition every cap that comes out, and every year Sozo wins hands down. John's an amazing engineer with a great ear and also a fantastic guitar player. So if you're doing any homebrew work at home, you're going to update an old amp, or you bought a reissue amp and it sounds like, you know what? One of the best things you can do is go in there and put Sozo capacitors on. It will liven up any amp. It will make the best sounding amp you have sound better. I guarantee it. Also, I've been ordering caps, John, 9 years, 6 months, it'll be 10 years, I guess. I've never got a bad one. Not one. Never, ever. And I've probably purchased 50,000 capacitors. Never had a bad one. Ever, ever, ever. I've never even had one that was substandard. They're flawless. So, John, tip of the hat. And I'm very honored you came by today. I've been doing this show for over a year. Actually, almost 2 years. In November, it'll be 2 years. Never seen you. But anyway, let's heat up the little Ventura and see what happens. Functionality, let's talk about that first. Yes, John, I'm glad you're here. I'm just kidding you. It's okay. I know you work. It's a very simple amp, circuit-wise. It's a volume and tone knob with our proprietary master voltage circuit that's on here. I have a bump. It's a global bump. It's on a foot switch. So, as you can hear, that's the clean side, which is just the EF86. That's the bump on. This is the bump off. And then to go to the other channel, it's not really another channel. What we're doing is adding another tube in. I'm all about simplicity and not building multi-channel sort of things, you know. So the impetus for this amp was a couple things. I had a lot of people coming to me with these little lunchbox amps. And they're tempting because they're really cheap. And you go, wow, that's cool. But as so often happens when you buy something that's affordable, after you've lived with it for a month or so, you realize after the novelty's worn off, maybe it doesn't sound great. You kind of got what you paid for. So the small size is really cute. Don't get me wrong. I love it, but maybe not functional for somebody that wants to do real stuff. So I had a lot of friends bringing lunchbox amps in. I won't say names because that'd be too easy. Well-known names and unknown names. $399 amps up to $1,200 amps. All with the same complaint. Hey, can you make this thing sound better? I need to use it for a gig and it's not quite good enough, or I used it on a session last week and it just didn't cut it. So, you know, they're my buddies. I look inside and go, man, not really, without just doing wholesale surgery on it. And I don't think it's worth it for you to put $500, $600 into an amp that, when it's all said and done, is still going to have a pretty flimsy architecture. You know, they're all printed circuit boards, so I can't do a lot of circuit changes. What I can do is, you know, upgrade a lot of components. I can make some mild circuit changes. But I can't really turn it into a real amp, sadly. Hand-wired amps, yeah, I can just do whatever you want with it. There's guys here in town that do mods on hand-wired amps, and they charge, $500, and it works. It's good. You can take a hand-wired amp and do a lot with it. I tried it on a few, changed capacitors, put in better transformers. There's big improvement, but it still didn't quite cut it. So I said, well, if all you're looking for is size, I can make an amp that's small. I still got to use premium grade components. You can't get away with that. Layout is very important, John, also. You're very correct. But there's no way to build a good sounding amp with premium components that don't come from China that's going to sell for much less than $2,000. It's just sort of impossible. You can make a good sounding amp, but you can't make a great sounding amp. And for those of you that have ever played a gig or ever had someone stick a microphone in front of your amp, it's very revealing what you're playing through when that happens. Microphone is not forgiving at all. And when you're on a gig and you got to play over a drummer and a singer and you got another guy on the other side of the stage that has a good amp, if you're not packing some heat, it shows right away. And as competitive as it is to get gigs, darn it, I caught my cable here again. Hold on a second. Damn it. As competitive as it is, especially here in LA. Hey, Kirk, how are you, man? As competitive as here in LA, you just can't afford to have substandard gear. So the Ventura is a response to that. This is not a bargain amp by any means. This is not us doing a cheap amp. It's definitely more affordable than our Blue Line stuff, but it's not cheap. The components on this are very expensive, and it's handmade. It's very well made. It just has a small footprint, and because of the smaller chassis, it's actually harder to build. So our component cost is right up there with anything else we make. But what you have is the grab-and-go convenience. You can put this in one of those coolers that holds a six-pack. Hi, Norwegian Slow-Mo. And so what this is sort of the first step that we're taking in this lower voltage, higher current sort of thing. So I wanted to make an amp that had real sound, real tone, real flexibility, real vocabulary. I know I get teased for using that word all the time, but vocabulary, if you've ever played a gig, man, you need vocabulary on stage. And there's a certain paradigm of players that don't like to get their vocabulary from pedals. I'm one of those guys. I like pedals and they're fun, etc., as an effect, not as my sound. There's very few guitar players that have been really successful where the pedal is their sound. It's an effect. And a lot of guys kind of make the natural assumption, I've done it before too, you get a cheap amp, but you know what, I'll get a really great pedal board and nobody will know. Everybody knows. Everyone in the audience knows, and everyone listening through a microphone knows. It just doesn't work. I was on the road playing for 12 years, and I tried every pedal under the sun, and I always realized, man, this just sounds way better if I plug it straight into the amp, or, an echo. I used to run an Echoplex really lightly all the time, just to give me some body and breath to my sound, but I never used it as a substitute for a good guitar and a good amp. There's no way to substitute for it. It doesn't happen. So, the Ventura is a way to do that. You want an amp that you can, an amp that you can take on an airplane, you can throw in the back of a taxi. A lot of our customers are in New York City. And they need to throw it in a taxi. We have a lot of customers in London. We have a lot of customers in Amsterdam. We have a lot of customers in Oslo. A lot of customers in Paris. A lot of customers in Tokyo. And, wow, there's good questions and comments here. I'm going to get to all these guys. I'm seeing them. Don't worry. I'm just finishing my rant. You can you need to be able to transport things. A lot of guys do fly dates a lot, and if you don't have something to take with you, you're going to end up with a Chinese amp backline thing that maybe doesn't do the artist justice, you know. How big is it? Long as not even as long as my forearm. I don't know if you can see that, John, just to give you some perspective. Here's my phone, my iPhone, right? It's not even 2 iPhones tall. 1, 2, 3 1/4 iPhones long. It's my new unit of measurement.
But is that an iPhone 5 with the bigger screen?
This is an iPhone 4S with the Mophie case on it. So if I took the case off, it would probably be a little different. But yeah, that's not even 2 iPhones tall. So it's little. Give you something else. Here's the mouse for my Mac. All right. Pretty little, huh? So you can. This is carry on.
Here's a cable. Here's a cable.
Here's my pick.
Here's a pen. Here's a pen.
Miles has been drinking. It's little. Mac product to inch conversions. Yeah, that's right. So that's just straight up 6v6 there. I'm not heating it up much at all. It's just good tube sound, you know, great rhythm sound, right? I'll pull out a Strat here in a minute too, and we'll do that. But yeah. So what I just did there was kick in a 12AX7 after the EF86, you know. What's that?
AT7.
Oh my God, you're right. Jesus Christ, I need some coffee. That's actually only a 12AT7 because we wanted lower gain. We just wanted to heat up what the EF86 did. Thank you very much, Miles. I made a wholesale error there. It's a 12AT7. John says 2 or 1 sig. It's a pair in push-pull. It's class AB1, so it's cathode biased. When you get in that whole conversation, there's no such thing as 2 pairs. A pair of tubes in Class A. It doesn't exist. Just because you cathode bias, it doesn't mean it's Class A. Unless you have a single-ended amp. You can't do a pair. I think dual single-ended, you know, but you can't do push-pull that's Class A, technically. And Baseface Josh in with the good vulgar comment. I love you, Josh. Thank you. Bob Sacco says, hey, Bob, how are you? Sound-wise, how does it compare to other models? Well, I'll let you decide. It has its own voice, definitely. It's a different recipe than what we're doing. It does overlap a little bit with the Tupelo.
How does a Big Mac and a Whopper differ?
Yeah. One will kill you in a week. One will kill you in 9 days. It's like I played baseball in junior high and high school. And it was like my favorite joke. Like, what's the difference between how do you tell the difference between a curveball and a fastball at night? So a curveball leaves a welt about that big, and a fastball leaves a welt about that big. Yeah. A real amp. I mean, I'm having fun playing. I'm only listening through headphones too. It's driving me crazy. I wish I was out in the room. So let's see. There were some good comments here I need to address before they drift too far. Paul Ovenstad, thank you. I couldn't go anywhere without my pedals before I got the first 65. Now I'm down to just a few pedals. Yeah, I love that comment. I get that a lot. Especially Nashville guys that are really, really, pedal friendly. Hey, man, I just did the craziest thing with your amp. Oh, yeah? What's that? I plugged straight in. Damn thing sounds great. I'm like, well, yeah, no shit. Kirk Spencer asks, how can you have good articulation of your notes using distortion pedals? Good point. Distortion pedals take all the dynamic range out. Distortion pedals do make the guitar and the amp very forgiving, and people like that because if you don't really play the instrument, it gives you a little bit of false sense of security. But it also robs you of about 75% of your vocabulary choices. You know, if you're playing with a distortion pedal, you've got that. There's not a lot of finesse when you're doing that. Kevin Cassidy's calling. Kevin, I'll have to call you back. Call from Cassidy Kevin. If anybody could answer that, that would be great. I think that guy needs us. John STCA says, good question, is your master voltage control meant to provide bedroom level sound? No, it won't do that. Tubes need a certain amount of electricity to function. To get down to bedroom levels, the only way I could do that's with a master volume. And, oh, Chris. Okay. Chris? I'd have to go to the master volume. And a master volume is the exact opposite paradigm of what this is. With a master volume, you're not using your power tubes. You're just squishing your preamp tubes, and you get a lot of fuzzy distortion, but you also lose your clean sound. You don't have any clean sound left when you use a master volume or an attenuator. If you want to do bedroom stuff, honestly, I'd get a pod. I know it's sacrilege. Oh my God, why does Dan say that? He's just going to sound better than running tubes so quiet with a master volume on.
Yeah, pod with headphones.
Yeah.
And your CD player plugged into it.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you're going to like it better. Because most of the fun of playing a tube amp is that, John Gaynor, you're a 100-watt Marshall guy, and I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. Maybe not a pod, but, something. What's that thing, the little fractal or whatever? Those are good. I hate the pod too. I'm just saying, playing big, loud electric guitar at bedroom volumes is definitely a square peg in a round hole. It's like saying I want to date Lady Gaga, but I want her to act normal. And no, ain't gonna happen. That chick's never gonna be normal. Hot plates work. I'm not a big fan of using attenuators because it just roasts your tubes after a while. But now Kirk Spencer's making a good point here. It does come down to reasonably play around the house levels. So if you have a room in your house where you can close the door and it's not next to the kid's bedroom and not next to the wife's lounge where she likes to watch TV, it'll work. You'll be fine. You're not going to piss off your neighbors. If you're in an apartment in Manhattan, you might piss off your neighbors. But if you live in a house, you're probably fine. Wife acceptance factor, Bob Sacco brings up here. That's a very important thing. One of the things we do for the wife acceptance factor is make them look good. David Hayes. How you doing, David? One of my other favorite... So we got really good amp guys on here today. We got John Gaynor from Sozo and David Hayes from Hayes Amplification. Acoustic guitars and women are made for bedrooms. Right on. Right on. Party on, Garth. I can't say a whole lot about that because this is being recorded and I have wife and children and all that stuff. That doesn't sound like 6v6s though, does it? Kind of had my foreigner channel there for a second. Will you pull out your vocal mic? Yeah, sure. Okay, let's do it. I'll do that same thing. There you go. Took the room. That's just my vocal mic picking up the room. I wish there was a better way to isolate it. I'm sorry. Heinrich Sterdal says, how clean can you get it? Well, you know, it's hard because Ustream dicks up my thing. Yeah, and a humbucker. Let me pull this out again. Which I said, all of it at the click of a switch. Pink Paisley 69 asks a good question here. How would a low wattage, low sensitivity SPL speaker allow me to crank up my amp more in a small room? Not a whole lot. It'll make a little difference. The thing that you're fighting against is your brain's natural tendency to compress loud noises. So when you start playing softer, your brain doesn't compress things as much. And this is, yeah, that's right. There's no EQing on this. It's straight in. When you get down, I think around, Miles, correct me if I'm wrong, but somewhere in the mid 80s on decibels, your brain starts to naturally compress.
Yeah, you could probably look it up.
So Fletcher-Munson
curve on Wikipedia or something.
Yeah, look up the Fletcher-Munson curve. And it'll show you how the normal human brain starts to compress loud noises. It also makes the phone ring. It also changes your frequency response as you get louder. For those of you 100-watt Marshall guys, you know how different it sounds when you're in the room with a 100-watt Marshall and then you go in the control room And you hear it mic'd up and you go, wow, that sounds really different. Because the mic doesn't do that. The mic doesn't change the compression on it. So, yeah, you get a flatter response. Mid-range tends to be more apparent. Your brain's going to roll off top end. It's going to roll off bass because it thinks that's dangerous, and so it just cuts it off. So when you get a lower SPL speaker, you might get a hair quieter. It's not going to seem... Bob Sacco says, how does the Ventura different from Jimmy Page's small amps like the Supro and the Valco? Well, it's a completely different circuit, completely different transformers, and completely different tubes. Other than that, they're the same, and different speaker. Sorry, Bob, I had to do it. You can get some good Page tones out of it, though, you know. How's it go? That sort of thing, it works. You know, I got a good Les Paul. That doesn't hurt. Yeah, it's very good fidelity. Thank you, John. And you have a lot to do with that, my friend. Yeah, it's pretty gainy. It's not a metal amp at all. I can plug my pedals in and run this Strymon compressor in it. And, yeah, it's all you. You're too generous. That's crazy. Give somebody a good guitar and a good amp. They should be able to. As we say in Missouri, where I grew up, even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Oh, I know, Rock and Roll Willie. That's okay. I'm just kidding. I'm just being a smartass. Let's do some Strat, huh? What do you think? Want to hear some different sounds? I'll show you how versatile it is. Les Paul always does me good. I kind of live in Les Paul world, but I love Strats as well. Hope it's in tune. We'll find out here in a second. What Paul is that? That is a 2002-2003 Heritage R8. I have Tim White humbuckers in it. Timbuckers, which they aren't made anymore. I got them a long time ago. Tim is an engineer in Alabama. I think worked for NASA and just started making pickups for fun. Play Billy Squier on a Strat? What, Billy? Lonely as the night. That sort of thing? Yeah, I guess so. I can't hear it out there. I just hear it through headphones, so. Yeah, a little bit of that going on. Was that right? That sort of thing? Is that what you're looking for, John? Can't remember the song, man. It's like 25 years ago, right? It's all I can remember. Oh my God, you're taking me back. All right, little clean sound somebody's asking for. I don't know if you guys can see it because there's a shadow, but there's also an effects loop on this amp too. And it has 2 speaker out, so you can run, it runs a 412 great. What's the channel volume on the clean? Right now it's 5.5, maybe 6. You want to hear some effects on it? You want me to put some echo and reverb as we're doing clean? Yeah, let me cut my mic so you can hear a little more pure sound. Hold on. Get the idea there. Yeah, let's plug in the Strymon board here really quick. I'll put a little squealy on it. The microphone doesn't like my headphones getting next to it. So where's my... Like, I need to buy her M120. Yeah, that's right. John, I'm glad you said that. The top end on our amps are very, very flexible because I use Sozo caps. Sozo caps, along with mercury magnetics and even these machine wound ones, allows me to voice really nice top end in the amp without it being harsh at all. I'm sorry, did I miss this? What cabinet speaker mic setup is he using? Yeah, no, it's a ribbon mic, John. I've got a Royer 122V on the G12H30, and I have a Mojave 101 on the Alnico Blue. No, I take that back. I have the other way around. I have the Royer 122V on the Alnico Blue. I have a Mojave 101 on the G12H30, and I have a Mojave MA200 behind the cabinet out of phase, just to get some good room sound. That setup for me feels the most accurate without coloring the sound. The ribbon mic versus the diaphragm mic, the dynamic mic, really tends to balance out. You know, each one of those mics will skew to one side or the other. It doesn't sound very human. What brand of 6v6s? I use JJ 6v6s. The Mojaves do have a power supply on them, yeah. No, the mics are about a foot off the amp. The front mic's about a foot front. Hi, Andrew. I came in here in the Billy Squire. I know it was a request. A lot of these guys like to play Stump Dan. So let's see. How's that echo level? In headphones, it's always way too hot. You know, is that too much echo? Even go a little. Let me get a little less there. Put a little verb on it. Fucked it up. Yeah, it's too much, isn't it? Let me turn it down. Still too much? I ran over my headphone cord again. I got to figure out a better way to manage this. Darn it! Somebody help me. Now we're a little hotter than that, John. This one's significantly cooler than our other 6v6 amps. This one's around 340, I think. You know, most of the higher gain 6v6 amps around are 425 to 440. Blackface Deluxe is 440 to 450. I can't remember the song. Is that even close? You want some slap back? I can do that. too much, huh? Why can't I get that? Come on. Train ain't right. 16 coaches long. It's hard to do. My fingernails are all messed up and I suck. I read some people have switched their 6L6s out for JJ6V6s without rebiasing. Yeah. The JJ6V6 is one of the only modern tubes I like. JG6V6 and the JJ-EL84 are really good tubes. The only thing they do lack, that all modern tubes lack, is longevity. But if you have a if you have a Blackface Deluxe, that amp was designed for 112 to 115 volts coming out of the wall. Most people are getting 123, 124. So what you're going to get there is a net 450 volts on the plates. It was about 425 when they were new. And so the only modern tube that you can run in a Blackface Deluxe and get more than 30, 40 hours out of it is a JJ. They sound good too. I like them. They don't sound like Blackface RCAs. They're just different, but they sound really good. I can kind of do the... There's some slappy echo, isn't it? Well, I hear that train a-coming, coming around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. Well, I'm stuck in Folsom Prison. Time keeps dragging on. That train keeps a-rolling on down to Santo. I can't sing low. Can't sing high either. Now, when I was a young boy, my father told me, son, always be a good boy. Don't ever play with guns. Well, I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. Get to be silly once in a while. Come on. If I could only sing like Johnny Cash. I had the unbelievable good fortune of seeing Johnny Cash several times when I was a young guy. Can you get Peter to sing that on Friday? Oh, by the way, Peter Stroud's going to be in Toronto Friday doing a clinic at Gear Music, which our friend Andrew Aldridge is here, who is the guitar guy there at the store. So Peter Stroud's going to be there playing 65s. Andrew also has an announcement for us. He has T-shirts, 65 amps T-shirts. So if you want to buy some, go to Gear Music. Let's see, preferences on 12AX7s. I use long plate 12AX7s. I use the JJ ECC 803S, which is a mil-spec 12AX7. Dan, where can we buy 65 amps? Right now, with the economy being the way it is, I got a bunch of dealers that stock. I got a bunch of dealers that don't stock. The guys that stock in your area, John or Chris Staten at the Amp House, Guitar Resurrection in Austin, Texas, Teddy Gordon at Making Music in Chicago, Rudy's Music in Manhattan, True Tone Music in Santa Monica, California. Up in Canada, Gear Music and Tapestry Music do a great job of stocking gear. And then we also have some stock available on Musician's Friend to fill in the blanks. That delay is great, isn't it? I can put wow and flutter on the tape. I love that. Can they buy direct? Yeah, I'm going to sell some direct stuff through the end of the year. Seems like with the election, all of our dealers are having a really hard time. So if you have a dealer that you like, call them, have them call me. I will pay them a fee for referring you to me. Pay them a generous fee. And you'll have to pay me for the amp. And then I'll build it, get it out to you as soon as I can. Probably take a few weeks if you pay for it. If I have to build it with my money, it takes longer. So. It's so hard. I love that song when I was a kid. Son, you're going to drive me to drinking if you don't stop driving that hot rod. Lincoln. Every time I play that, someone says, show us how to play that lick. So I'm going to do it in front of the camera real quick. I'll play it slowly so you can see it. It's not very hard. It just takes a heavy right hand. You have to pick like this fast. So once you get your pick going, right, you have to go. And it's just an E7 with a 6 on top. So you got open D string, and a 6 here on the B string, which is C sharp. A little bit of tremolo, a little whammy behind me. So yeah, man, I love that stuff. Good Texas boogie. Any NOS tubes you would recommend for the Ventura? Really the only NOS you might want to consider are power tubes if you want to get more of an old sound, a little more vintage sound. Go for RCA black plates. My favorite 6v6s are late 50s tongue saws. Those are my personal favorites. Excuse me, I get dry talking about this stuff all day. All right, let's see, we got some slapback going. Let's exploit it a little more. Couple more repeats on there. Sing it, John. Oops. There's a red house. Oops, wrong switch. A little compression on. Ooh, that's too big, isn't it? Oh my God. I'm killing the system, sorry. Turn that compressor down. My favorite booster pedal is a compressor. It's getting too loud, isn't it? I can hear it. Let's do this a little bit. Let's cool it off here. Let's just do the master voltage then. I'm going to drop it down about 25%. That's where my baby stays. Tell me about it, Paul. I mean, it kind of sounds like a big amp, doesn't it? I mean, you get that big bottom end. That's what it's like when you got 4 big bottles back there. I'm not a great Hendrix guy, but I just have fun doing it. It makes me so happy to go. So then, let me see if I can do this. I have my glasses on. We'll turn the output down. Compression's killing it. Yes, Kirk, I saw your question. I'm sorry I missed it earlier. Will you be doing a low voltage high current amp with 6V6s and EL84s? Yeah, I plan on doing it with everything. Over time. I can fatten that up a hair on the compressor. Too much echo? A little less. Bong. Gotta go. Great amp, great job. Thank you, John. Nice to see you, man. Come back more often. Please. I would definitely like to see you and talk to you more. Somebody asked earlier, is anyone on tour using the Ventura? Yeah. David Ryan Harris with John Mayer and the dude from the Fray, and I can't remember his name. He has a Ventura and a London Pro. Oh, Kirk, thank you, man. Says, I've owned boutique amps from other manufacturers, but I'm firmly a 65 amps camp now. Can't beat the tone. Oh, thank you, man. I gotta tell you, man, I don't really have any secrets. To make a good sounding amp, you gotta buy good parts. You have to build it really well. But there's a lot of guys that build really well, but they just don't use high-end components. There's a lot of guys that don't build very well. But I'm saying there's enough guys in this business that build really, really well. That if they would just spend more money, they're driven by the fact that, oh, man. See you, Andrew. Take care, man. Happy Halloween. Master Sonics, what's up, Charles? ¿Qué pasó, amigo? You just can't make a good amp cheaply. It doesn't exist. Never did. It never has. You know, I have a Todo bien. Awesome. How many switchable voices in this one, and will you run through them all? Sure, there's 4. Let's go down. Start down at the bottom. Voice number 1, EF86 channel with the bump off. Turn the voltage back up here. We're only running about 75% power right there. Voice number 2. I was wrong. Hang on a second. Voice number 1. I was totally wrong. Cut, take 2. I'm listening to headphones. It's really bad. I'm listening out of the headphone jack on my little PreSonus board, which the PreSonus board is fantastic. The headphone amp, not so much. Good quiet rhythm sound. Bump. Turn the bump off, go to channel 2. Getting a little more mid-rangey British sounding. And bump on. So with a Strat, with a humbucker, it'd be a lot dirtier, you know. Let me turn my vocal mic off and I'll go back down. So there you go. I don't know how well it comes across on Ustream because they really step on my signal quite a bit. How icky does the 12AT channel 7 get? Let me put a humbucker back on real quick, and I'll give you some power through it and see what you think. Kind of a lot of it is, you know, your guitar. If you have a Paul Reed Smith, those have really hot pickups. You know, these pickups are like 8K that I have right here, 7.8, 8K, something like that. You run one of those heavy metal guitars that has a 10 or 11K pickup, that'll get dirtier than hell. Here, let's push it. Push it hard. Turn this echo and shit off, sorry. I'll turn my vocal mic off again. So anyway, there, you get the idea. I'm going to go ahead and pack up the guitar right now. We'll sit around and chat for a minute, if you don't mind. So, see about, so my PRS McCarty will make it sound better or worse. It's going to be different. McCarty's a great guitar. It's just going to give you more dirt at a lower volume on the knob. It's all just the knobs, you know, like people get it wrapped around. I want my amp to go up to 7. Why? You know, put a dB meter in front of it. That's what you want to see. If you're getting 120 decibels out of it at 3, who gives a damn? You know. So the idea being that with all of our amps, they're as loud as they're going to get on 5. Just so you know. So don't compare them to a Fender or a Marshall. That's my darker Les Paul. Yeah, Rock and Roll Willie. Sorry, that's my darker one. I like it dark. I have the amp set pretty bright, though. I mean, the tone's like on 7. Someone asked earlier, does the bump bypass the tone stack on this one? No. There's no tone stack on it. It's just a tone knob. There's no stack. Just a tone circuit. Rolls off treble. That's why it sounds so detailed and cool, I think. But numbers are just numbers. A lot of times the knob's just loose. You loosen the knob, make it read whatever you want. It doesn't matter. The idea with this is I like to play without pedals. I like to play a long way away from my amp when I'm on stage because I tend to get out and interact with people in the audience, and I sing a lot, and I can't futz with my amp, so I kind of turn it up. And then I've got it all on my pinky, so if I need really dirt. Also, I don't trust sound men. No offense to sound men. Most of them don't pick up when you're taking a solo until you're like 2 bars into it. So I just got all the volume right there on my guitar. That makes me feel a lot more comfortable. So, it's just personal opinion. But yeah, the PRS McCarty doesn't have high output pickups, I think. I think they're kind of nice PAF type things. So you'll probably love it. I think it'll sound good. Sorry, I have to get something out of my pocket. I apologize. But let's go a little bit this way so I can sit back in my chair. So anyway, I'm a tired boy. It shows on my face, doesn't it? So, the point is, don't be fooled by the numbers. I mean, any guitar will sound good and any amp can sound good. Just don't say, well, my other amp went to 6. Who cares? It doesn't mean anything. Let's see. Pink Paisley 69 says, which band are you playing in then? Well, the name of my band changes every year, it seems like. We were the Village Idiots, and then we became the Valley Village Idiots because we all live in Valley Village here in the Valley. And then after that, today, Mark Goldenberg and I changed the name to the Valley Pagans because it's Halloween. Since we're having a pagan ritual. Mark Goldenberg, who's another guitar player in the band, who plays for Jackson Browne. I'm the schmuck in the band. These guys are all great. I'm literally just the nerd who's not afraid to sing. We were watching our kids do the Halloween parade this morning at school and decided that the Valley Pagans would be the new name. So in that band is, Dina Carter, who's a country singer, who, boy, it's such an honor to sing with her because she always makes me sound good. Another girl singer named Chrissy Guerrero, who sings with Elvis, the Mexican Elvis, and she's fantastic as well. Great rock singer. And I sing some of the songs. I sing about a third of the songs. And I got those two backing me up. I mean, am I the luckiest guy in the world or what? So the drummer is Matt Logg, last time, who plays with Alanis Morissette. He also plays with Mike Campbell's band, the Dirty Knobs. Yeah, Elvis rocks, man. That's a good show. And bass player is Dusty Wakeman, who you've all met here on the show a lot. He engineered all his Dwight Yoakam records, played a lot on the Dwight Yoakam records. He's the country rock, grooving bass player, rock and roll, old school rock and roll guy from hell, Just can lay down a groove a mile wide. And Brian Mendes, who runs Colossal Cable, was our drummer, but he moved back to Texas. Doing an honorable thing, taking care of his dad, who needs some help right now. Good thing about living where we live, there's a lot of good musicians. So, what's your live rig? My live rig kind of varies. The last gig I did, I used this. I used the Ventura. It was fantastic. I kind of end up using Tupelo and Elvis a lot. Seems to work for the gigs that we have. But I just kind of grab whatever's here, whatever happens to be in the shop. I played with the Empire before. It was big. We did an outdoor gig. I used an Empire, and it sounded fantastic. I haven't had a chance to gig with a producer yet. I hope I do. What else? I've gigged with the Soho also. The Soho's great. London's always easy. Like I say, I just use whatever's here. The London's just fantastic. The London's, it's a 2-channel thing that doesn't get a lot of distortion, but man, it sounds good. And so, yeah, they're all just different. Depends on what our set's looking like. If we're doing a bunch of Beatles stuff, then I'll use a London or a Soho. If we're doing more of a Stones modern to modern kind of thing, I use a Tupelo a lot. And Elvis is really good if we're going to do a low volume rock gig. We're doing like Chrissy sings a couple of Zeppelin songs, stuff like that. Elvis is great for that. I know they're like your kids, Andre Mack asks. I get this question every day. I love it. So I have a good answer for it. Andre Mack asks, I know they're like your kids, but do you have a fave? No. That's Sophie's choice. It's hard to say. Everyone, when we're making it, that's my favorite. Hey, greetings from Argentina. Wow. All right, Matthias. Nice to see you. Greetings from Los Angeles, California. Wow, that's great. We got like 4 continents here right now. Whenever we're designing one, that one's my favorite, and then it kind of falls back into the line. We love your amps here. Great. Where do you buy them there? I guess you can get them through Musician's Friend in Argentina, can't you? But you can buy it through Musician's Friend, right? Matthias? Musician's Friend online. That's the main business Musician's Friend does for us, is a lot of the countries where we don't have dealers. Well, thank you, Matthias. Thank you for joining us today. I'm very happy to see you. That's very nice. Can you predict the next kind of amp you will build, Bob Sacco asked. Yes, I can. It will be a good one. I don't know. I mean, this low voltage, high current thing is proving to be pretty fantastic. So I think I'm going to maybe go back through some of our old models and update them. Maybe add a little bit of functionality to them. I'm not sure. I personally don't like a knob with 24, amp with 24 knobs and 12 switches. I'd rather just play the guitar. Like, you don't need that if you can play guitar. How do I get from clean to dirty? Play softer. It's really simpler than having to hit a bunch of stuff. Yes, Kirk Spencer's on, who I spoke with this morning on the phone. He wants me to do a high current, low voltage version of a KT88 amp, which, all those big bottle tubes I can do just by advancing the producer. So the producer line, I will probably flesh out with EL34s, 6L6s, which is what we offer now, KT88s, KT66s, maybe 5881s, just to see how they do. Matthias says, Dan, I've been using JJ lately, but I'm feeling that they fail more often than they used to. Which model, Matthias? Which model? Some of theirs are better than others. I have very good luck with the EL84s especially. And the 6V6s are good. Sometimes the runs aren't perfect on them. Like, we'll get some that are actually microphonic, which I've never even heard of a microphonic power tube until the past couple of years. The 12AX7, yeah, that's right. The preamp tubes are, everybody's preamp tubes are difficult. Andre Mack says, are the high current models inherently more expensive due to the transformers? Yes. That and the power section's built differently because there's a lot of current going in there, so it's a different thing altogether. So Master Sonics is not for long. Yeah, you might have heard that we have a long-term project going on to make tubes, so it'll be years before we have anything on the market, but I'm going to start now. So, yeah. 12x7s are tough. There's only two 12x7s that I like. Well, three if I'm being honest. One is that JJ-ECC 803S. They are microphonic in a high gain situation. So if you want to put them in a high gain amp, it could be challenging to find a good one. The Electro-Harmonix LPS, which stands for long plate, with a spiral winding, is good. You can't use it in a cathode follower position, though, because of that spiral winding. It'll pop. So you can use it in a regular, gain stage. It's fine. But if you put it as V2 in a Marshall, it'll blow up. So, Rock and Roll Willie says, Dan, when you run a Tupelo and Little Elves, do you switch between them or both all the time? Yeah, I've only actually ran them both in one gig. And I did both. I would use one or the other and then kick them both on for solos. It was good. Matthias asked, Dan, have you tried the WGS speakers with some 65s? I haven't. Celestion treats me like a king. And their speakers are always available and always consistent. And they have a warranty on them, which most of these boutique guys, their warranty is 30 days. I can't sell that. Most guys don't even break in their amp after 30 days. So I can't really offer that and feel good about it. I'm sure they're great speakers. I've heard them. They sound good. Yeah, our prices did go up, Christopher Bott. Unfortunately, my wholesale costs have gone up dramatically over the past 4 years, and I've been holding off raising prices, assuming that the economy would get better. It hasn't. It's gotten worse. Boutique amps, stuff like that, it's a very tough market. My parts have gotten way more expensive over the past few years. On average, 63%. Some of them have doubled. Some of them have tripled in price. And I did not raise prices accordingly. And to be frank with you, it's cost me a lot. I'm broke. And so I had to raise it. I don't care if I make half as many amps. I have to make a profit on them or I just die. My kids don't have a house. So I'm sorry about that. There's nothing bargain about any of our amps. This amp here, the head's $2,000, but it's built as well as anybody's amp that's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. You see lots of $4,000 and $5,000 boutique amps out there, and they're using machine wound transformers. That's the only difference between this and my Blue line. If you could see my wholesale cost on getting these out the door and what my overhead is, you'd be astonished at how little money we make. On some of them, I was making $200. That doesn't pay the bills. I can't pay a staff on $200 an amp. No way to do it. And the only other choice I had was to start using Chinese parts, cheap transformers, get the cabinets made overseas, which a lot of boutique guys are doing now. A lot of my peers, they've shifted half their supply over to China and kept their prices the same instead of raising prices. And you're just changing quality. A couple guys quit using hand-wound transformers and switched over to machine wound. Didn't tell you that. A lot of guys have switched from using Celestions to using, Webers or Eminence speakers. They cost a lot less. They don't do what I need them to do, so I don't use them. So yeah, the prices have gone up and I feel bad about that, but I got to do what I got to do to survive. And these are the only amps in the market that have a lifetime guarantee except for the tubes. And I stand behind them like nobody else does. So, long answer to a short question. I had to raise prices. I'm sorry. I know it's a lot of money, but it's often not cheaper. It's actually sometimes a lot more expensive to buy a cheap amp. I have this conversation literally twice a day with somebody, and I had it yesterday for a long time. And you're like, well, hey, man, this amp has two 6v6s in it, and it's 20 watts, and it costs $500 less than yours. Why is that? I'm like, well, and then they'll tell me, well, look, I bought this amp for $1,500, that one for $1,200, that one for $2,200, this one for $2,500. Why am I going to pay $3,000 for yours? I'm like, dude, you already spent $10,000 or $12,000 and you're unhappy. You just can't fake quality. There's no way to do it. It just doesn't exist. I mean, everybody's just somehow rationalizing that, yes, I can pay $9.99 for an amp and it'll sound as good as a hand-wired amp made with good components, and it just doesn't. They don't sound bad. Somebody mentioned Egnator here. Egnators are great for $600. It's a good amp. But, $600, you can't buy my transformer set from Mercury retail for $600. It's a different animal altogether. I mean, go look up, go spec out the trannies for a 100-watt Marshall on Mercury Magnetics website. You got a power transformer, output transformer, and a choke. I think you get close to $700 just for the transformers. So if somebody's selling you an amp for $600-700, guess what? It's not the same stuff. So the circuit is important. Thank you, Rock and Roll Willie. Admirable sometimes is very challenging. It is right now. I want you guys to call me and buy amps. I need to sell maybe some amps this week. But it's just not... it's not possible. It doesn't exist. I wish it did. I'd make it. If I could make an amp that sounded this good and sell it for $1,200 or $800 or whatever, I'd be rich. And everyone in this business keeps trying to meet these arbitrary numbers. I was mentioning earlier, I have a minor in economics with my degree, and there's a formula for picking money over time. So if it costs $10 in this year, it'll cost $12 in that year. So you look at like an AC30 or a Marshall. When they first came out, they were around $400 in 1964. And in today's money, it's about $3,700. Quality isn't changed. It doesn't get cheaper. Quality never gets cheaper. When I was a kid, I remember specifically a friend of my dad's bought a Mercedes, and he paid $28,000 for it. And this was like around 1980, I think. And this is when you could buy a brand new Cadillac for $8,000. And people would say, oh my God, about $8 or $10,000, I think. You could get a nice Cadillac. Maybe a loaded Fleetwood was $12,000. And you could buy, a Chevy for $4 or $5,000. And the guy told my dad, he goes, this is the cheapest car I'm ever going to buy. What are you talking about? He goes, well, your Chevy's going to fall apart. It's good for about 75,000 miles, and then it just turns into one repair after another. And at the end of its lifespan, it's going to be worth $500 after you've spent another $2,000 or $3,000 repairing it. This Mercedes is going to last me till I die. And I don't have to fix it very much. The repairs are expensive when they happen, but they don't happen very often. But no matter what, I could still sell this car for money. That guy still has that car. Friend of my dad's in Columbia, Missouri. It was 32 years ago. $28,000 car. It was an S-Class. Still drives it. He's an old man. Still runs. It's got 300,000 miles on it. Works perfectly. Car's still worth some money. Still worth about as much as that Chevy cost new. So that's the moral of my story, is that cheap is not inexpensive. And low cost always means high price. Always. You're going to pay a price for a low cost thing. And so that's kind of what we're making here. I understand it's a lot of money, and I do respect and completely honor the fact that it's a big investment for a lot of people. And I respect and honor that by giving you a warranty, and you got me standing behind it. I think most people find it to be a good deal. The warranties are transferable for a fee. The problem with hand-wired amps is somebody gets on a forum and they go, hey, if you put a capacitor in here, and they mess with it. So for $200, we will recertify the amp for you. We'll go through it tooth and nail, make sure the circuit's still correct, and we'll retube it if it needs it, and we'll put it through our testing process again. We'll recertify it as new, and then the lifetime warranty is transferred over to you. We do that a couple times a week. It still happens, and then that also covers the shipping back to you. So a used one's a good investment as well. They hold their value reasonably well, even in this complete tanked market. The 65 used stuff that I see is, sorry, I got some Facebook activity going on here. It's a good way to spend your money. You don't need another amp. Doc Electric says, oh, here you go. Wait, there's other ones. Yeah, Christopher Bott says some of the old Mercedes diesels are good for 1 million miles. That's the cheapest car you'll ever buy, man. I mean, if you understand economics, low price is high cost. Always. There are no exceptions to that. You buy something cheap, it's going to cost you a lot. It's going to cost you depreciation, because you go buy a $700 or $800 amp, 10 years from now it's worth $50. You know, it's never that way. But it says you don't always get what you pay for, but you never get what you don't pay for. That's very well said, Kirk. Thank you. Yeah, there's no gifts in this business, so it just doesn't come for free. I wish it did, because nothing gave me more grief than agonizing over that price list. You know how long it took me to actually make that price change? 6 months. Because I was just so heartbroken that I had to do it. I'm looking for ways to minimize my cost, but nothing's set in stone yet. How is the cab mic today, Doc Electric? I have a Royer 122V on the Alnico Blue, and I have a Mojave 101 mic on the G12H30, and I have a Mojave MA200 behind. It's a ported cabinet, so I have it behind the cabinet out of phase. And it kind of gets pretty close to what you hear out there. Best I can do over this digital kind of broadcasting format. It's hard to do it. I have a PreSonus Studio Live board. I have some BAE preamps. And I have one 1176 smoothing out the whole thing. I'm just taking the peaks off of it. That's all I'm doing, so it doesn't hammer you guys too hard. So that's my spiel. My number is right behind me, 818-760-5089. Call me and buy an amp, please. How many amps are you building a month? At full production, we can do 80. We're not doing that right now because cash flow is wrecked. Seems like all of our dealers, I can say the election, you know, everything's just shut down. My price range didn't help too much. But like I say, I'll make less amps and make a profit on it. It's fine. I wish I didn't have to do that, but I do. So, sorry, I got a lot of Facebook things going on over here on my other computer. 1-800-AMP, good. Matthias, do you work in a music store in Argentina? I'm guessing you might. Let's see. I play guitar and I love building my own amps. Ah, okay, very good. Stop looking at the girls on Facebook. No, you're an aficionado. Okay, that's cool. No worries. Do you use the same long plate preamp tubes in your combos? Yes, I do. It's I have to buy 10 of them to get one that works in a combo. Hence part of the price. You know, I could stick the little short plate tubes in there, but the amp's not going to sound good. I mean, that's not even a 12AX7. I mean, when you get those 12AX7s with that little tiny plate in there, the definition of a 12AX7 is, you know, a 15 to 17 millimeter plate. And those are like 9 or 10. They do that because there's such pieces of crap that if you shorten the plate, there's less chance it'll be microphonic. But it doesn't work. It doesn't do what a 12AX7 does. I mean, you know, 12AX7 passes this much current with this sort of rise time and all these things. Those little plates don't do that. That's like if you ordered a BMW and you ordered the 6-cylinder engine, you lift up the hood and it's got a 4-cylinder engine in it. Would you be pissed off? Seriously, would you be pissed? I want real answers. Would you be pissed off if you ordered a car and you ordered a 6-cylinder engine and you open the hood and there's a 4-cylinder engine in there? That's what a short plate 12AX7 is. I think I've done this on the show many times, but I've got some examples of that here. I have a long plates here. I think I had a couple of short plates here just for... So here's an old tongue saw from the 50s. And here's a modern JJECC 803. Let me see if I have any of those. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do this with the modern manufacturer without giving away his name because I don't want to be. You should have long plate tubes in your London, Bob. So here is a JJECC 803. This is what we use in non-cathode follower positions. See if I can get the camera to focus on it. Come on, focus. There you go. That's a 17 millimeter plate. That's what the Mullards had. That's what the Telefunken and Smooth plates had, etc. This is a modern build 12AX7. I'm going to hold them side by side here in a second. And it's going to be pretty drastic. You're going to be surprised. Okay. Come on, focus. There you go. Look at that. All right, you ready for the side by side? Oh, come on. Come on, little webcam, focus. Why isn't it not focusing? It's focusing on me. Let me get me out of the picture. Anyway, you get the idea here. Quite a difference, isn't it? Which one of these do you think sounds better? Now here's an old tongue saw. I'll hold it up. I think this is 1 millimeter shorter. This is probably a 16 millimeter plate. This is an old tongue saw from the 50s. Oops, I got it backwards. It's hard to do this with a webcam, sorry. So that's a tongue saw. Why isn't this not focusing? Quit doing that. There we go. Oh, that was a trick. I had to go up close. So you can see that's a well-made tube. Let me put that side by side with a modern production tube. You can see the difference. Why will it never focus on this tube? Anyway, even there you go. So you get my point, right? I know I'm kind of being bombastic about it. I'm sorry. Bob, I just saw your picture on Facebook. It looks great. So you get the point. You know, the larger the plate is, the more electricity it can pass. You know, to put it in sort of modern digital terms, it has more bandwidth. The short plate tubes compress very early. They don't have a broad frequency response. They do distort faster, which if you're in a high gain amp, it's not that important. When you have that much distortion, it doesn't really matter what kind of tube you're using. But so you get the point. It's long plates. That's your name. I love it. This is important stuff. Now this tube, in order to get one I can use in a combo that's not going to rattle, because modern tubes are all, what's the word I'm looking for? Shit. I got to buy 10 of them. So, you know, that for me at wholesale level, it's $100 worth of tubes to put one tube in your amp. I think it's worth it. I could be lazy and go, you know what? Hell, just put this in there. Most guys don't know the difference. They're just lawyers who play guitar at home, and who cares? The customer's stupid. I don't agree with that. I don't like that. I don't think the customer's stupid. I think the customer deserves, when you get an amp that's supposed to have a 12AX7 in it, damn it, it better have a 12AX7 in it. That's just me. I'm sorry. So, just like if you were to go order a car and you ask for a 6-cylinder engine, no, it's only got a 4-cylinder. That's fine. You'll never know the difference. The 6-cylinder is difficult. I mean, it takes a lot more work to put in a 6-cylinder engine. It costs more money. I mean, the 6-cylinder costs more than the 4-cylinder, so we don't do it, but we still charge you like we do. Would you be pissed off? I was. And you know what I did about it? I started my own amp company. So there you have it. I'm not pointing fingers. I'm not naming names. I'm just saying that's what the market is right now. It's really tough. Beatles mug. So, yeah, someone says, this is so nerdy. I love it. Well, good. It's a sensitive subject for me because there's a definition of a 12AX7. This isn't it. It's not a 12AX7. And the spec sheet for tubes, you know, back in the day, that was the minimum. So you see a lot of guys, I don't know if I have any vintage power tubes in this drawer or not. You see a lot of guys that advertise tubes as NOS. NOS means one thing. It's new old stock. It's in a box. It's got paper around it. It's never been used. Maybe it's been tested. And they'll say reads 95% NOS. No. NOS mean the tube spec. So whatever 12X7 is 1500 milliamps of transconductance. That was the minimum. If they came out with less than that, they would be rejected because it's fraud. You know, same thing. Oh, you know, I thought the car had 6 cylinders, but now that I look at it, it only has 5. What's the difference, huh? So, Jesus, I'm ranting, aren't I? Sorry about that. What else do you want to talk about? It's almost 2 o'clock. I need to go eat lunch. I got some phone calls to make. So what do you think, guys? You like my little Ventura? It's hard to look into the camera and read the chat window at the same time. Kirk Spencer says, those of us who are lawyers and CPAs may only play to a couple hundred folks at the VFW hall. Oh, this is good. But we want to sound great. If it was about money, we'd put more hours in the office. Yeah, exactly. Well said. I don't disrespect you guys that play. Just because you have another profession other than a guitar player doesn't mean that you don't understand good tone. I mean, that's like saying, you know, they don't need a high-def television. They're stupid. They're not movie makers. They're not actors. What do they need a high-def television soon for? It's crazy. Everybody understands good tone. And I can take my wife, my CPA, who doesn't play guitar, and put them side by side and switch the tubes out, and they go, oh, yeah, that one's better. I mean, it's insulting. It was insulting to me. I used to go buy amps, even expensive, amps, and go, holy crap. This doesn't sound good. Loadvar, it's a little late here today, Dan. Has it all been about tubes? No, actually, the tubes, this is the end of show rant. First hour and 15 minutes were all about the Ventura, which is right here. Please do go visit Arna's new shop in Oslo and try a Ventura. You're here for the nerdy stuff. Well, I can do Nerd Hour. I've actually had a lot of people ask me to do a second show where we just sit around and have tech talk. Long Plate says, I'm going to mail you a couple of Long Plate 12AX7s for your private stash. Sure. Gosh, that's very generous. Thank you. I will take it. Bob, I named the amps. The Gaucho, in light of our Argentine visitor in our chat today. Oh, yeah. Wow, somebody's outside. Hang on 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. That just sounded very strange. I had to go check on it. I apologize. Well, the Gaucho is a good name. The Gaucho is a good name. If our friend in let's see, Matias, where are you in Argentina? My Spanish is horrible. Yeah, it'll work for Brazil, Uruguay, Venezuela. We do. Hi, Kid Gloves, too. Yeah, we do a lot of sales in Venezuela. I don't ship directly into Argentina because there's a really high tariff. You guys double the price coming in. So you can buy it through Musician's Friend without that tariff. If I sell in, they put 100% tariff on it. So it's very, very good. Well, Matthias, your English is very well written, very well typed. Andre Mack. And in large portions in our great nation. Where are you? Andre Mack. The Gaucho. Bob Sacco. You. CSB. Steely Dan. Okay. And that's right, Dan. Here the price is double at least. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, there's some amps down there in Argentina. Are you in Buenos Aires? Vive tu in Buenos Aires? Ah, okay, yes. Okay, good. Beautiful city. Beautiful place. Argentina is a beautiful country. You live in BA. Oh, yeah, perfect. Good, good. I'd love to come down and visit you. I love Argentina. I've only been there once, but I was blown away. Plus, the food is unbelievably good. Really, really good beef. I think it's... you have a bed. Muchas gracias, señor. And that's awesome. And likewise, come to Los Angeles. We'll take care of you. Anyway, what else do you guys want to go over? before I go eat some lunch and make some very important phone calls. Ah, yeah, you've been to New York. Yeah, well, come out to the West Coast. It's very different. Much more relaxed. Yeah, go eat. I need to eat. Bob, I like your picture here. That was fun this morning over there, wasn't it? Oh, you weren't there, though. You don't live there. You're just friends with Keith and Ann, aren't you? That's right. You're up in SB. I love it up there. You guys have a nice day, too. Yeah, Keith's awesome. Keith and Ann. Bob and I have some mutual friends that have kids at our school. Wow, we had a long one today. This is good. So I'm going to kind of do, what cables do you recommend for your amps? My favorite instrument cable is Colossal cable. But that's just, I don't know them all. I'm sure there's a lot of good ones. What speaker cable do you recommend? Yeah, Colossal also. Thank you, Rock and Roll Willie. Good to see you, man. I appreciate you guys spending time with me. It's quite an honor. It's been a big crowd that stuck around today, and I'm very honored by that. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Andre. Thank you, Doc Electric. Happy Halloween. That's right. I got to go get ready to trick or treat. So, again, thank you guys very much. It's been a very nice chat. Watch your mail package from Northeast Vintage Vacuum Tubes. Oh, cool. Do you have a vacuum tube store? Long plates? See you, Bob. See you soon, man. Thank you, Pink Paisley. Hey, Frank Schotoffer, how you doing? Glad you're here. Seabot, are you going as Dan Jovi? Nah, I used to do my normal, like, sort of psychedelic hippie thing that I do. I have a big Paisley gold lame long coat and a big flat Jimi Hendrix hat and some round glasses and all that stuff. Dan Boul. That's right. Boul. That's me. Thanks, Dan. Do a show with a 6v6, and this is a 6v6. Yeah, this is a 6v6 amps, Love Bar. I think you missed it. Watch the recording, you'll see. So anyway, I'm going to call it here. Wow, we still got a good crowd here. This is great. Paisley, yummy. Yeah, there's pictures on Facebook. I think if you look through my archives, you'll see me. I'm going to do the same thing. My kids love it, so I don't even care if I dress up. I just want to go out and play with my children, which is why we do it, right? I'm a lucky guy. I've got amazing kids. You know the costume. That's cool. Okay. Well, fellas, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's Halloween 2012. Go out there, have fun trick-or-treating. And we will see you very soon. Okay, guys? Thank you again, sincerely. Take care. I'll see you next week.